probably one of the worst about this, and I have a terrible time finishing books. I'd like to thank the management and staff of Reader's Magnet for sponsoring the Festival of Storytellers Chapter 3. This is the only book fair that is dedicated to authors. If you've ever been to a book fair, or you've ever been to, you will find that they are dedicated strictly to the publishers, and it's about how the publishers can get work, how they can reach more of a target audience to do business with them. The roundtables, there are 2 roundtables a day. There is one at 11 a.m. and Eastern time, and there's one at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And on Saturdays and Sundays, they are hosting the Author of the Hour, where you can listen to a moderator and an author talk about their books, and it is their 1 hour time. We have another author who has joined us, Mr. Hooks, Ernest. Ernest, can you hear us? QR, do we have him with us?
Yes, we have Mr. Hooks. Probably he is just still fixing his mic, but we can go ahead and proceed. Yes.
Okay, and then when he is with us, are you going to put him next to Daniel? Or okay, thank you. Okay, so today's the day that you decide you're going to get into the habit of reading. So you choose a book and you begin to read. And the next day it's a little bit harder, but you gather enough strength and you read a bit that day. And the third day, you don't even notice that you didn't read because you just had a miserable day at work. The traffic was awful. You got home late. And the last thing you wanted to do was pick up a book and read. And the fourth day, you forgot where you put it. And the fifth day, you recommit that you're going to read. So hopefully and thankfully, I'm not the only person who starts a dozen books and can never finish them. But humans get bored very easily. And the shine of a new book captivates all of us, and for just a short time. And then when we get familiar, we get annoyed. And when we get annoyed, we look for something else to catch that shiny new spot and satisfy the craving. So what I didn't realize, and this is me personally, what I didn't realize is that, and I discovered this not too long ago at a neighborhood barbecue, was that reading several books at a time really is not unusual. A lot of people might pick up 5 or 6 books and read them simultaneously. But we get excited about a book and we persevere. But as soon as we find another book, or we get resistive, and it seems that people only have the ability, if you get past the first 50 pages, you got it made. And people get bored by the time they get to the first 50 pages. So are there some ideas that can help us? I found some ideas that can maybe help us finish a book. And one is variety. And so you don't want to be reading all of the same genre. You want to have maybe have a history book, and maybe have a biography or some sort of a classic novel, something that will, as you're reading, you will be able to get an idea of you won't get bored. You'll decide you want to read the biography before you're reading the fictional novel.
Ellie, I have a question for Wilkinson.
Yes, sir.
Yes, because Wilkinson actually has a very interesting book, right? Which he
Yes.
shared the previous roundtable discussion. I wonder, you know, if there was any instance where you decided not to continue reading.
Yes, because I I don't know if I shared this earlier. Um, I'm currently building a dating app, and I've been working on this business idea for almost 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was also writing the book, and at one point where got so busy building and developing the actual app, I got so busy and I couldn't do both, and I had to stop. And as soon as I started running out on cash to be able to maintain all the costs for the dating app, then I realized, okay, you know what? Let me put this on the back burner.
Okay.
And I did put the app on the back burner, and then I realized, you know what? What am I going to do now? So then I
Mm-hmm.
started taking some online courses, to which you mentioned about variety.
Yes.
And I started learning a whole lot about classical literature, history, and that pushed me more to want to integrate a lot of those ideas into the book and make words make sense in terms of my marriage and how a lot of things affect you as a human being and going forward through the court proceedings. So yes, so that should be an answer to your question. I don't know if I did, but yeah.
Wow.
So when do you decide going back to that title?
Um, when I first wrote the outline, another writer did help me how to put. Well, not that he did help me. He did tell me that's what you need. You need an outline. So I started an outline, and immediately I knew that that's what I needed to come up. At first, it was going to be the family court witch hunt. That was the original title. But
Okay.
then I said, you know what? I don't want to sound too much like Donald Trump or anything. You know what? Let me let me change that. Okay, deadbeat. So if this whole thing is about how they're making it so hard for you to turn you into a deadbeat dad, then I might as well just start calling these guys deadbeat judge. So then I start saying, you know what? Not just deadbeat. So you know what? I know one when I see one.
Mm,
That makes sense. So that's
yeah.
how I came about with that title, and that's it.
Okay. Right.
Wow.
Ellie,
Sir.
we our number is getting we're getting in numbers. So
Yes, we are.
yes, we're
Yes,
getting in
we are.
numbers.
I
Let's
see.
change the view. All right, let's have more seats, and let's go ahead and quickly just introduce our newcomers. All
Yes,
right,
we will.
let's quickly change our view first
Okay.
before
Hold
we'll
on. We're
continue.
going for a ride, you guys.
All right. Okay, take the lead, Ellie.
Okay. So we have uh Anthony has joined us,
How you
and
doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm
I'm
great. I'm great.
Ellie, and we have Ernest. Is that Ernest?
It's Hooks.
Okay. And then what happened to, we had Chakuma, did we not?
Yes, he's with us.
You, okay. All right. Let's see. According to this, we should have Daniel, Wilkerson, Alfred, Ernest, Chakuma, Anthony, and Stephen. No?
Yes.
You
QR?
also have
Yes.
Okay, so
Stephen Nielsen.
Oh, yes, Mr. Nielsen is in as well.
yes.
There he is. The poor guy's
Yes.
losing all his hair, but he's with you.
Ellie, you look
Well,
like our
he di-
teacher.
I do. He didn't have to get dressed like I did today with his hair. He's not fighting his curls today, I'll tell you that. Okay. All
All
right.
right.
All right. So in order to try to learn how to finish a book, which is a struggle for some of us, is to have a variety of books, different varieties. And if you're reading 2 or more books, just try to make sure that the themes and the genres are not too similar. And there will be occasions when you won't be in the mood to read 2 books and you won't be in the mood to read one or the other, and that's okay. And then you have to, one of the other suggestions is to limit yourself. And maybe you've decided reading all of these books is not going to really be very easy. And that just means you have to be aware of which books you might actually be reading right now. And like I said earlier, most of us put a book down by the time we get to page 50. We become bored. We're done. We're just done. And that's okay. Goodreads says that some people may pick up as many as 12 or 13 books at a time. And I don't know how you would do that, but I have met people who say they read as many as 4 or 5 books a week. And unless they're reading for work, or they're reading as Wilkinson did to learn, I don't know how you could do that, but you'd have to have an abundance of time, or you'd have to be incredibly disciplined.
Not unless if that's their job, if they're, paid to read and review a book.
Well, yeah, like you guys are. Yeah, you at Reader's Magnet, that's what you do. I understand that.
You know what, Ellie? I wonder what our other authors and participants experiences were, and I wonder what genre that they decided not to continue reading, and what those titles are.
Okay, Alfred, tell me about that. What do you like to read? You're our military guy. No, Daniel's our military guy.
Daniel's a military guy.
And so am I.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So I got all these military men. And Anthony, you joined us? I think that's Anthony. Is that Anthony that just joined us? Hi. Okay.
This is Robin Welch.
Robin Welch. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I got all these participants and I can only see a few of you. Okay, Daniel, tell me what makes you not want to read a book?
Well, a couple of things. I have a little different perspective than what you're talking about. When you're writing a book, you're totally immersed in writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
And there comes a point that you're done. You can't write anymore.
Right.
And no matter what you do, you can't come up with new thoughts. That's the time you take off and start reading other books and other things, getting activities. I run a lot, so I run 2 miles a day. So I think it's good to have a time period away from your writing your book, because you come back more refreshed and able to understand what you're writing, and maybe change the things you wrote about before you got there. But I think the more books you read, I can't read 16 books in a month. It's hard for me to read a book a week. So for me, I can't do the things you were talking about, but I think it's good to have a diversion. And I think that's the important thing about an author, to get diversion while they're writing their own books.
Well, I do too. Alfred, what do you do? Are you an avid reader?
Yes, I wouldn't call myself an avid reader of diverse genres of books. I tend to be a little bit compulsively sticking to, I guess you would call it the social sciences realm.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to doing a lot of reading on books in youth studies and cultural studies, I tend to read psychology books, and I dabble a little bit in science fiction, but even those science fiction books tend to be, kind of social justice or, virtual history related. So my biggest challenge, whether it was writing my book or reading books, is if I get particularly intrigued by an idea or a set of ideas and a piece of the narrative, it kind of takes me to another place where I just want to explore that genre, so to speak. Not necessarily with other books, but it might be in, research or seeing interviews with people involved in that field. So I become a wanderer and forget about, finishing a particular book.
Well, I understand that. I understand that because I do blogs
Yes.
I do blogs for my webpage on caregiving, and you find that you go from I go from articles on caregiving pre-pandemic to some medical journals as to what occurred during the pandemic, such as 2.5 million kids became orphans because one or both of their parents died from COVID. And so you get wrapped up in that kind of stuff. And then to go back to a regular novel is very difficult for me right now anyway. Is that Ernest? Ernest?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So you selling physical gold, or you just selling the?
Excuse me?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
buying gold coins.
Okay.
Oh, several years now.
Okay. You know what, QR, I'm
I'm trying
struggling.
to find wholesale deals.
Okay.
Yeah. Eagles, Morgans, Liberties. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, you had to appreciate history. History tells us clearly that fiat currency at some time will fail. Paper doesn't last very long, and gold and silver have been around for 5,000 years.
We don't have everybody's on
So
video.
where you gonna have your faith? What are you gonna have faith in? Faith in paper? What are you gonna have faith in?
Okay.
Ali, let's ask Stephen.
Okay, Stephen,
Yes, Stephen.
Yes. How are you?
What book? Yeah.
just trying to
What
figure out what your name was. I could see you.
what book
Yeah.
you decided not to continue reading?
Mm-hmm.
To begin with, I am Stephen Nielsen,
Yeah.
and my book is
Mm-hmm.
Hebrew Gold.
She had wisdom.
It's the sixth book that I've written. It's a technical book. It's on Hebrew writing styles within the Holy Scriptures. It's the only book of that kind I've written. Most of mine have been historical fiction. But what makes me to quit reading a book is that I'll give it a good chance. I'll read and read and read and struggle. And if it just doesn't get interesting to me, if it isn't touching my psychic, then I'll finally put it down. It's hard to do because I hate to start anything that I don't finish. I'll give you an example. I read the book Shogun. Shogun is, I think it's like 900 pages. I did not struggle with it. I enjoyed Shogun. It moved, it was fast enough. And then there was a sequel to it. And I read the sequel and I enjoyed that. Well, I gave both of them to a dear friend of mine. And he just about died in the middle of Shogun, but he finally finished it. And when he started the sequel to Shogun, he just put it aside and said, "I've had it. This is not my thing." And although he's a dear friend, he He didn't get the same good feeling or good entertainment value from the sequel to Shogun. I wish I could think of the name of it, but anyway, I guess boredom is the main reason we all put a book aside. We give it a try. Also, if it's poorly written, I can't put up with it. I had a friend that wrote a book and self-published. He sent me a copy. He's a very, very nice man. But his book is just terrible. I mean, it just really is. It didn't, it surprised me how bad it was because he happens to be a school teacher. But nevertheless, I just couldn't finish it. I just set it aside. But normally speaking, before I buy a book or read a book, I've done the research and I'm pretty well sure what I'm going to be reading. I go in for historical fiction. I love biographies. I love good memoir like Frank Court's Angela's Ashes. I enjoy a good memoir. And again, I study something out before I buy it or begin reading it. So I rarely set a book down. But thank you for asking.
You're sort of in a different, the majority of the people will just see that shiny cover and think maybe that'll be a good book, and they'll read the inside, read the back cover and pick it up. That's seems to kind of be your method of research is pretty interesting. Robin, can you, Frank has muted us because we've got a lot of noise in the background, but can you tell me about you? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for being here. Sorry I'm late.
No, don't be
That's
sorry.
fine,
It's
Robin.
That's
Okay.
fine. Not a problem. Tell us about your reading habit. What makes you not want to finish a book?
Well, I'm a first-time author.
And tell us about your book.
Okay, I'm a first-time author, and my book is called Love Has a Voice. I don't know if you can see.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Okay.
And it's about my 22-year marriage. I hadn't planned on writing a book about my personal life, but it was God inspired. And since God inspired me, I asked God to help me complete the book. And he did direct me in what to put in the book and how much to put. It's very transparent. It's very, I'm very vulnerable in this book because I tell what happened in my life, which I'm normally a very private person, but I expose everything.
Well, that's good. Tell us why. What makes you quit reading a book?
If it doesn't relate to anything that I'm going through at the moment, or if it doesn't relate to something that would inspire me, then I would start it. But if it doesn't hold my attention, and if it's not doing anything positive to change, bring change in me, then I may not complete it.
I
Okay.
totally agree with Robin. While listening to her with the type of material she published, I guess regardless of what you're feeling, regardless if you're depressed, motivated, happy, elated, sad, that type of book really is something that you would like to finish.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, now I don't know the name of the gentleman in the white coat who's got earmuffs on. So tell me what your name is and talk to us. No, you're muted. Unmute.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
We can't
okay,
hear
so-
you.
No, we
Y'all can
can't
hear
hear
me
you. Tell us who you are.
All right, my name is Anthony Fliggins.
Okay.
I wrote the book, The Kingdom Leaders Principles of Prayer. I don't know if you can see it, but The Kingdom Leaders Principles of Prayer. So I wrote this book. When I hear everybody speaking about a book and what makes you not read a book or not finish a book, I honestly don't believe, for myself, speaking in my opinions, that I find books. I think they find me. So I use a method. And what I do is I go to a bookstore and I take my right hand and I just rub on the books. It's a feel
Wow.
that I'm looking for. I'm not really looking for because I don't know. There's something in me that doesn't know what I am looking for on the surface. But there is something in me that knows what I may need, not for that moment, for that book, or maybe 5 years from now. So I could be picking up something that I may need in 2026. And it's grabbing my attention today. So when I go to a bookstore, I just feel for the books. And whatever my soul says, that's the book I grab. And that's how I can get into a book. I never read a book looking to finish the book because I really don't think I honestly finished reading. These things find me. And so in that sense, I can grab something new out of everything I read and find something interesting and believe that I didn't search for the book. It actually found me. And that's the process I use. So that keeps me engaged, keeps me interested, wanting to go back, wanting to find more. I find interest that way. That's how I do it.
All right, that's super.
I have
Ernest, are you?
something to share, Ellie. I wanna share this to Ernest. I've read an article the past week. It says even if you add a book to your current reading list, you have no obligation to finish it. There's no
Right.
gun in your head. There's no
Right.
That's
book
good.
policy ready to humiliate
good.
you because you're
Right.
a terrible reader. So if you're reading a book and has become more of a chore than a delight, then you should probably let go of it.
Right.
Right.
And that's okay.
Mm.
That's okay to put the books down. I have a lot of books on my Kindle that I haven't read yet. Ernest, are you still with us? Are you muted? Can you unmute if you're with us?
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
Okay, so tell us what keeps you from finishing a book, Ernest?
Well, what keeps me finishing a book is that if I'm in the midst of writing a book and doing research, then I will scan sources quickly and make notes that I can reference in my manuscript.
How many books have you got?
Countless numbers of books.
Okay. How many books have you written?
Oh gosh, I'm the author of 2 books and working on
Okay.
working on a third book at this time.
Okay. Okay. So do you read primarily for to do research for the books you're writing?
Well, the outline, whatever outline I have, is actually the guide for doing the research. And
Okay.
the intent is to not just tell fiction, but to tell what happened without exaggerations.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
that my subject has been American history. And I think that we can all agree there are some huge gaps in American history of what happened and what was said to happen. So I'm trying, my objective is to be clear, direct, and say what happened according to history.
Yeah, that's honorable. We have QR, we have the name of Janice sitting in between Anthony and Robin.
Yes, we have Janice, but I guess she's having difficulty with her mic. She's having
Okay.
problems with her mic.
Okay.
We can proceed.
Okay.
Yes.
So as QR said, there's no such thing as the book police.
Yes.
And so you don't have to finish a book if you don't like it, and you don't have to finish a book if it just if you're just struggling.
Yes, if it
to-
feels like it's a chore, if it feels like, it's not feeding you, it's supposed to feed your soul. It's supposed to make you feel like, delighted, right?
Well, and
But
some people have different places where they read.
yeah,
I
that's
mean, some
also one
people read,
thing.
right? Some people read in bed. Some people read on the bus on the way to work.
Hmm.
So again, the book police aren't going to come and get you if you, a lot of people call their restrooms their library. And so if you're going to go into your library and you don't take your book, nobody's going to say anything to you. I mean, I think um, it's just, you shouldn't have to read a book if you don't want to.
Ellie,
I mean,
now that
that's,
you've mentioned that, does anyone of you here do have a specific place where they go ahead and read books, or or it's not necessary, there's like a specific place, a specific nook. Anyone? Oh, yes.
yes. That's Alfred.
Yes, Alfred, please.
Oh, you're muted, Alfred.
Did
Unmute.
it get-
Yes, Alfred, please share it to us.
He's trying to unmute.
went on mute? Oh, there it
There you
goes.
go. There you go. There you go.
Okay. So there are two places, that I like to both read and also do writing. The first is to find a little place in a public park that has lots of trees and a calm environment, because it's almost as if the energy of the trees are calming me down, getting me into a space where I can really commune with either the book I'm reading or what I'm trying to write. It's a calming presence. And in a similar fashion, if I could find like a small, cafe type of place that doesn't have too many people, where people are not talking, but there might be a little bit of classical or calming music in the background, it's the same type of thing. But I think as a reader and a writer, we have so many ideas percolating and jumping off. The calming influence helps us make it easier, to engage in
Yes,
the process.
I agree,
Wow.
because the noise will distract you, right? And I guess
Yes.
that's, those two places are the perfect avenue for a reader and a writer to really get into the story. Right, Ellie?
Yeah, I write at home.
How about you, Ellie?
I'm not the most avid reader. As I said, I read so much. I read so much. I research so much before I write blogs, whether it's actually a blog even for my own cookbook or a blog on caregiving, because I do a lot on online with caregiving, since I was a caregiver for 10 years for my mother. I basically, I need a quiet environment, and I just need to be able to focus. And so I guess for me, sitting in my office, in my loft, in my home, is where I do most of my reading. Now, if and that's a big if for me, I have a book that I want to read, then I can read most any place. And I don't mind
Mhm.
sitting outside on my patio in the summer, reading. That's, it's calming, and so I don't mind doing that. And I can read pretty much any place. I can't read if I'm on an airplane. I just don't find that to be conducive to a place where I can get my mind wrapped up
Mhm.
into a book. But for the most part, I'm just kind of a person who likes to I like to read here at home, and there's places in my home where I read, but
Where exactly?
for the most part, I read when I'm researching for my blogs on my website.
Okay. Let's hear it from Daniel.
Well, for me, I use a lot of the internet for research, reading books. I write a lot of white papers for companies,
Mhm.
and it takes a lot of time to read a good book or read a good research paper. And then it relaxes me to write a book like I wrote to get away from that diversion. So you just have to, what I do, I take an hour of concentration. So I'll spend an hour, then I'll do something else, but I always allocate time during the day for different functions, like writing, or reading, or researching.
Wow. Such discipline, such discipline.
I can
Wilkinson, do
do
you have,
that.
Wilkinson, do you have that discipline? Oh, unmute. You're muted. Unmute. We can't hear you. Unmute. There you go. You need to unmute because we can't hear you, Wilkinson.
Right.
There you
Can
go.
hear me now? I could just read about anywhere that's quiet, and usually I pull out a book from my phone and I'm able to read it. As long as it's quiet, that's basically it. I mean, you mentioned on the airplane. I don't know how I'd be able to read on the airplane, but
I can't. And a lot of people do. A lot of people do a lot of work on the airplane on their computers.
Mhm.
yeah. So if I'm on my phone, it's quiet, then I could just probably, because I get distracted from, oh, no, where was I? I'm listening. So
Right.
yeah.
Janice, where do you read? Janice, can you hear us? You need to unmute if you can talk to us.
I guess she's still fixing her mic, Ellie. Let's hear it from
Okay.
Ernest.
All right, let's hear from Ernest. Ernest, tell us.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, I can read at home, in the park, or on the bus.
Wow.
And it means that I have to stay focused and concentrate on that moment. My favorite area is to be able to read in a park or somewhere that's green or natural vegetation, because I think you can get better results there, because our bodies are a part of nature. And I think
Just like Alfred.
yeah.
Mhm.
Steve.
You can get extraordinary ideas. In fact, I've tested it, is that if you walking briskly in an area where you got greenery and nature, your inhalation of oxygen increases. Your brain cells work harder to really bring extraordinary thoughts. So that's better than just sitting. So while you're moving, that's when actually your inhalation of oxygen goes up, and the brain cells capture that, and they can be able to bring new and extraordinary thoughts to your mind.
Then how do you pay attention to where you're walking? Because I walk every day in on walking trails, and I do see a young woman who walks every day who is reading as she's walking, but I got to be able to see where I'm going, and I don't want somebody's dog to bite me, and I don't want somebody's baby stroller to roll over me, which is what happens where I live.
Yeah, I didn't mean to breathe while you're walking. I mean, you use that as a magnet, clearly, to really start your brains to thinking. So when you get to your destination where you can actually begin to read, you have fresh ideas from that brisk walk that you had, and increase the inhalation of oxygen. So the preliminary is having a brisk walk, the increased inhalation of oxygen, and then when you begin to read or write, it goes off the chart.
Well, Stephen, tell us. Talk to us, Stephen. You're muted.
There
you go.
Thank you. Thank you. The host is in control of the muting. I can read most anywhere, but I do like the early mornings, mostly just when I can be alone. By the way, Robin, I would like to see your cover again. I couldn't see it clearly, and I couldn't see Anthony Figgins' cover either. I'd like to purchase both books, but Robin, do you mind showing your book again? What is it? Love.
There you go.
Maybe you better blow her up.
It's love.
What? Could you expand, Robin?
I don't think she
her
has a,
picture.
she doesn't
Robin,
have a
can you
mic.
mention the title?
It's
There you go,
called
Red.
Love.
Open Robin up a little bit. Well, what is it? It says love.
It's
What? I
called
can't hear.
Love.
Oh, there it is. Love has a voice. Wonderful. I love that. And then
Thank you,
Brother
Robin.
Figgins. Love has a voice. Brother Figgins, could I see yours too?
He just stepped out for a bit.
Oh, he did. Darn it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I pretty much said all I want to say. I can read anywhere that it's quiet. So
Wow.
how about Alfred? Do you mind showing the cover of your book, please?
Sure.
And
I
we're
can't see
having,
it.
okay, we're, tell him what the
There it
title
is.
is, Alfred.
I can't
hard
see
to-
it, darn it. There it is. The soul of adolescence aligns with the heart of democracy. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Listen, I have to apologize
Sir?
because I have a meeting to attend and I have to walk over there. Just
Well,
about
we
get there.
thank you. We
But,
thank you for joining us. You don't have to apologize. We thank you for
Yeah.
the time and we thank you for the information you've shared. It's
Okay.
been
I'll
super
be
having
back.
you be part of us.
Yeah, I'll be back again because I really enjoyed this. You're all great. Thank you.
Super. Thank you.
Thanks,
Take
Alfred.
care.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Ellie,
Sir?
I do want to share something.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are a lot of reasons not to finish a book, right? Again, we may be bored, or the area or the place is not really conducive to reading, or we're just too busy, right? But
You don't like
also,
the author. You may not like the author.
you may
may
not
get
like
into
the
it.
author. Okay. But also, I'm not sure if it's just me, but there are those who really want to go ahead and finish the book that they've started reading because, number one, the fear of being seen as a quitter. Number two, they're still hoping that the story might get better later. Anyone? I guess it's just me. All right. Well, yeah. I make
Well,
sure.
I mean, or maybe you want to start, you got another book you want.
Mhm.
But, I think you would quit because one of the reasons you might quit is because you might have guilt that you paid for the book and it's just sitting there and it's
Sitting
sitting
there.
there either on a shelf or it's sitting in your phone or it's sitting in your Nook or your Kindle.
Here's what I do. If I feel like, I'm slightly getting bored with a story, because I do read fiction novels. So if I have that feeling that I'm slightly getting bored, what I do is I stop reading it for the meantime, and then I look for another material. Yes. And then I feel like, okay, I think I need to go back to that book. Then I go back to that book. How about you guys?
Strategy.
Daniel, what do you do? How do you make yourself finish the book you started to read?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
If I like the book, I'll keep reading. If not, I'll set it down. And I
So
think
there-
the hardest part is
So there
getting
was
it
no
back up.
instance that you really stopped reading?
Oh, yes.
It didn't happen.
There is a lot,
Wow.
especially between halftime. I'll read during the halftime. But other
Okay.
than that, I think you have to have time for a lot of things in a day. You can read for, especially the morning. And I agree with you. I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do writing and reading. And I think that really, by setting aside time for certain activities is the best way to handle writing, reading. I really think, yeah, I discipline my day. I just find it easier to do it that way.
God bless you. That's all I have to say on that one. Stephen, you look like you probably disciplined your day as well.
Yes, sometimes you discipline yourself through a book, by the way. You know you need to read it. Maybe you're being tested on the book and you fight your way through it with discipline. Then again, there's others that are difficult to read, like I have one here on Adolf Hitler. I want to know more about the man. I've read a lot about him. I also love our president, Grant, Ulysses S. Grant. He got a bad rap in history, the way I look at it with what I've read lately. First of all, he was a very well-read man, very learned man, very kind man. And not only did he, win the Civil War, so to speak, he was a remarkable Reconstruction president, but he didn't get to write that part of his memoirs. He died. Other people have written about him. Some have been kind, some have not been kind. But my judgment of Grant was he's phenomenal, just a phenomenal president, phenomenal man. But it was hard reading, a lot of discipline required to finish it. So I won't quit a book just because it's difficult, but I will quit reading a book if it's boring. Absolutely.
What about you, Wilkinson? Are you disciplined in reading?
I don't have any discipline at all, to be honest.
Same here.
Why does that surprise me?
I find myself buying one either on my phone or a physical book. I go out on my doctor's appointments a lot. I put them somewhere. I'm looking for it. I find it 2 days later. I read again. Then somehow I can't find it anymore. There's this book called Entrepreneurship. No, not entrepreneurship. Film entrepreneur. And it's about film and how you can become an entrepreneur while you are at it. You don't necessarily, right. So that's what that book is about. And I find myself on several occasions reading it and setting it down. And 2 weeks later, I find it, I read it again. And then now I'm looking for it. I cannot find it. I don't know where I put it.
By the way, are you not Francois Wilkinson rather than
Yes,
Wilkinson Francois?
Yes, I am.
So your
Wilkinson
first name is actually Francois.
No, my last name is
Is it?
actually Francois.
Okay.
Wilkinson is, but most people call me Ken. Yeah, so that's my name. So in a nutshell, I buy books, I'll read books. The only book that I was so disciplined around, it was the truth. Because I don't know, for some reason I'm driven by truth. Anything that's about truth. Like I see that.
Books, return your
Right.
call. You give me a call
And
back.
it's called The Truth by
409-9970. Thanks.
I wasn't sure if someone else was talking.
I wasn't either. QR?
That probably was the reason why our tech guy is, unmuting us earlier. Anyway,
Oh.
continue, please.
Neil Strauss, The Truth. You might want to look into that book. I loved reading it, and I don't know, it was so moving, and I was on it until I think I finished it in less than 5 days, because that's how involved I was with it. But
Good.
other books, I just opened up something about Benjamin Franklin. Woof, way over my head. I can't find it anymore. I ordered it somewhere. So it's one of those things. I'm constantly reading.
That's okay. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. Janice, are you with us? No. Okay. Ernest, tell us, are you disciplined in reading? I suspect you are. Are you muted? Well, I don't know what happened to Ernest, but what I will say to the other four of you is that we have been at this discussion for an hour, and I have thoroughly enjoyed moderating and working with all of you, learning you, meeting you, and our books are available. I'm assuming our books are all available in our booth. If you're participating in the Festival of Storytellers, our books are available in our booth for fairgoers to buy. Follow us on social media. I am at Gacetta Eleanor on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook as Ellie Gacetta.
Your
So,
website, Ellie.
my website is www.onecaregiversjourney.com. And I would invite you to visit my website. It was developed by Reader's Magnet, and it really is just a super website, and they have done a great job helping me maintain it and keep it rocking and rolling. And I participate in their web traffic optimization program. Last month I had 3,100 I had 3,100 hits to my website with 7,100 page views. So over time, I have been able to, being in this program over time, I've been able to garner people that don't necessarily buy my book. My book sales are flat, but my website is hot. And I think it's because there's so much information, and between my caregiving and my cookbook, people are just interested in what we have. I have heard that the home health entity likes what's going on up on my site. So,
And Ellie, I believe you will be having an author of the hour session this coming Sunday together with
Sunday,
Dr. Joanne White, right?
Joanne White and I are doing a joint author of the hour at 12:30
12:30
Eastern,
to 1. Yep, 30.
12:30 to 1:30 Eastern on Sunday. Joanne and I have worked together. I have been on her. She has Power to the People, or anyway, she has a podcast that originates out of New Jersey, and I'm in Colorado. So it originates out of New Jersey. We have worked together on a number of occasions. And I think you'll find our author of the hour entertaining, if nothing else.
Could we see a copy of your book? Just one of your books, please?
Okay, so this, let me see if I can get it to where it'll show.
Hold it back a little. Hold it back. Oh,
Yeah,
my.
it's not there.
There it is.
Well, there it is. That's
There it is. Generations
of Good Food. It is my cookbook. Generations of Good Food. And my caregiving book is One Caregiver's Journey.
One Caregiver's Journey.
And it is essentially it's a kind of a journal over the 10 years that I took care of my mom. And I refer to it as a snapshot of the changes and challenges of being a caregiver.
All right.
You know, we took care of my mother-in-law before she passed away, Ellie, and what a wonderful experience. She did get dementia. We watched her go through the stages, but I never felt closer, and it was a delight to serve her. I was at her bedside when she passed the veil. Just a very strong spiritual experience.
It was. I was at my mother's bedside when she passed away. And as I said, she was 102.
I was about to mention that to Ellie.
What's
Because
that? That she,
I was about to mention that, you know, when Stephen said, he was on his mom's bedside when when his mom passed away, because that's exactly what happened to you as well, right?
yes,
Mhm.
yes, and people with dementia, as Stephen knows, can be combative, but my mother was very docile. She was very kind. Um, she was a second generation Italian. She sang all day. She prayed all day. She prayed in Italian. I mean, it was quite the experience. And there were bad times and there were good times. And I'm a stronger, better person for having done that for 10 years, even if the world passed me by. You know
My
what? Our
mother,
lives, we all have these kinds of things in our lives that bring us together, that we can share. I do thank
my
all of you for
mother-in-law,
joining us. Um, stay well, be safe. Ciao for now.
All right.
For having
Bye,
me.
everyone.